firearms manufactured after 1968 when the GCA, the Gun Control Act, went into effect, you will see the caliber. See the caliber? You will see the caliber designation on the actual handgun itself, on the barrel. Some handguns you will also probably see it on the frame. So if someone gives you a handgun, unless for whatever reason, and I know the reasons why, somebody switched out the barrels on their handgun with a different caliber. I'm not supposed to be teaching all this stuff. But anyway.
But the explanation.
In general, you look at the barrel, it'll tell you the caliber of the handgun that you're shooting. The frame might also tell you. You might also want to look in your manual. You can also look in a ammunition box. Pass it around and look for the caliber on that. If you have a .40 caliber handgun, it might be a new guy working behind the counter, and he gives you a box of .40 cal. Look at the box and say, "Hey, genius, I said 9mm." Don't put the wrong caliber ammunition into your handgun. Another rule for using and storing a handgun is to refrain from using alcohol or other drugs while you're shooting your handgun. If you are recreationally using alcohol and other stuff at home, you're in good shape if a guy just busts in your door or climbing through your window. Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do, right? But if you're going to the gun range, do not be drinking and smoking. That includes such drugs that are so labeled, "Do not drive or operate heavy machinery while under the effects of this prescription." Of course, alcohol is probably not a good thing to be doing while you're driving. While you're driving and while you're shooting. The attorney is going to cover the lawful blood alcohol content for carrying a firearm, but in general it's .02. So if you have like a good strong shot of mouthwash in the morning, you might be legally ineligible to carry your handgun until your blood alcohol level comes down. Obviously, alcohol might impair your judgment after a few drinks, which is why it's so stipulated in the law that you probably should not be carrying while you've been drinking. Although one interesting observation I have, in my personal opinion, I think an automobile is a more dangerous potential tool than a handgun. Matter of fact, I argue a handgun is probably more lethal. An automobile is more lethal than a handgun. I make that argument. You could drive a car through a building and mow down people standing at the bus stop. And we allow 16-year-olds to get licenses to drive these automobiles over. And as a matter of fact, the law lets us drink about 3 or 4 drinks and still be legal behind the wheel of it. I digress. These pesky gun laws. Guns are evil. Another rule for using and storing a handgun is to always use safety equipment. In most cases, we're talking about hearing protection and shooting glasses, or safety glasses. If some of you work in the factory environment, you probably have a kitchen drawer full of these things, right? Nobody work in the factory? I know I used to work in the factory years ago, and man, I had a kitchen drawer full of safety glasses. Sometimes I would drive home with safety glasses on the freeway, get out, get into the house, and forget I had them on. But these are shooting glasses, so they're tinted. Hearing protection. I just heard from someone who went to Walmart the other day. They got a pair of shooting muffs for like $10. Sometimes they'll come with a set with glasses for like maybe $15. Go to Walmart. You want to make sure that your hearing protection has a noise reduction ratio, NRR rating, noise reduction ratio of 22 or higher. Gunfire is exceptionally loud. Some of you, if you haven't been around gunfire up close and personal, it can be very disconcerting. Some of you will jump uncontrollably until you settle down and calm down. It's stressful for a lot of people to be around people shooting guns and they haven't been around it before. Sometimes I might even jump. And it's really weird because, you know what, gunfire by itself is loud. But you might have somebody next to you that's shooting a rifle. Some of these rifles, I mean, if you think a handgun is loud, wait until you're next to someone shooting a rifle. It takes it to a whole different level. And then, yeah, I might jump there. Want to wear your shooting glasses. I got a pair that have a nice little tape to it so I can simulate shooting in low-level light, shooting in the dark. You might not get robbed during the daytime. Some guy might actually jump from the side of your house in broad daylight. Somebody might try to carjack you in broad daylight. But you know what? It might also happen at nighttime. In the winter, it gets dark at 4:45. It might be dark before you get out of school and before you get home from work. You might want to practice that. Another rule for using and storing a handgun is to keep your firearms away from unauthorized users. Who would be an unauthorized user?
Anybody without a CPL.
Anybody without a CPL. So hypothetically, let's assume that you have your CPL, which is not required, by the way, to have a gun in the house.
Okay.
But there's a legally registered gun in the house. No, I'm saying legally registered gun in the house. Who is eligible to use that legally registered gun in your house?
Able to use it.
Yeah, who can use it?
Any responsible adult in the house.
Any responsible adult. Define responsible.
Whoever
I know some adults I definitely would not trust with a handgun.
Whoever registered to the gun.
Well, I would hope that the responsible user is the registered owner, but that is not necessarily so. Having a registered handgun means that you were responsible enough to have it registered, but doesn't mean that you're a responsible adult.
That's a trick question.
That's a trick question? It's a real question. You got a gun in your house. Who can use your gun?
You.
You for sure, because it's yours.
Anybody 18 and over with a proper ID?
That's a good rule, but that's a rule that you set. You say, hey, everyone 18 years and older. But you know what? I wouldn't trust any adult over the age of 18 if he hasn't been trained.
Basically, it's you got to set that rule, basically.
Yeah, ultimately. But then I just want to fully explore the topic. Some of y'all are like 18 and older, for real. No exceptions. How old do you have to be in the state of Michigan to get a hunting license?
14, I think.
Lower. 12. There's a great shooting tradition in the state of Michigan to hunt. And a lot of children are introduced to firearms early. It's a family tradition. It's a rite of passage. A lot of people have been brainwashed that guns and children should not ever mix. We hear about kids